Photosynthesis occurs in the kidney bean plants in order to create glucose for energy in order to carry out the process of cellular respiration. In the light-dependent reaction, the overhead lights and the water from the tank enter the thylakoids in order to create NADPH and ATP, with the byproduct of oxygen, which is then released into the atmosphere. In the light-independent reaction, the NADPH, ATP, and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere react in order to create NADP and ADP, as well as C6H12O6, which is commonly known as glucose. Other carbon compounds are also produced in the Calvin cycle. The glucose created by photosynthesis is then used to carry out cellular respiration.
Glucose enters the cellular respiration cycle. This glucose is created by photosynthesis for the plants and by the consumption of food for the fish. The glucose is broken down into pyruvates in glycolysis, which takes place in the cytoplasm of the cells of these organisms. Then, with the aid of oxygen, it travels into the matrix of the mitochondria and begins the Krebs cycle. This creates FADH2 and NADH, which enters the electron transport chain and creates ATP, which is the energy that these organisms need to survive. A byproduct of CO2 occurs during the Krebs cycle and helps contribute to the carbon cycle.
The water from the tank is absorbed by the fish and then excreted. The water also evaporates from the tank into the atmosphere. Lastly, the water is drawn up through the roots by capillary action into the plants and then used for photosynthesis.
Through nitrogen fixation, the plants assimilate nitrates using the bacteria in the water. Then, the fish consume those nitrates through the plant roots, as well as consuming fish remains and fish food. Then, as the fish consumes the nitrogen through the fish roots, then their urine excretion carries it down to the nitrogen-fixing bacteria in the porous rocks. Then the nitrogen travels through the water either back into the atmosphere or into the plants, and the nitrates are gained through the roots and later continues into the atmosphere as well. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is absorbed into the plants through photosynthesis and is released in the form of glucose. The glucose is also created by the fish consuming fish food, which then travels to cellular respiration. The cellular respiration releases carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Then the fish die and their bodies, waste, and roots decompose, and the carbon travels back up into the atmosphere.
Phaseolus vulgaris take 10 to 14 days to emerge from seeds. Raw beans are toxic.
Carassius auratus have a pH tolerance of 7.2 to 7.6. They also have a nitrate tolerance of 1,000 milligrams per liter. Carassius auratus produce waste which aids plant growth.